Welcome, I'm Bev Adams. I own an independent paper crafting business showcasing products from Stampin' Up! I made this cute pop-up birthday card with products from Stampin' Up! I sell these products and also a few items to make crafting more convenient. I have the free detailed directions for this project on my website. And also on my website, I'll have links and you can click the links for the products that you would like to be taken to my online store at Stampin' Up! You'll see where to find all of that at the end of this video, so don't worry about taking notes. It's time to put stamps, ink, and paper together. I'm using Best Day, which is a very cute stamp set all about birthday. And I'm focusing on watercolor for this project. Let me show you the list of products, and hopefully you'll be able to see these. Again, you'll have all of these available. You can download these directions. So I'm going to try not taking up your video time for that, and you can maybe pause that video there and see what I used. So I have already taken the 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock. This is Tahitian Tide, and I have scored it at 5 1/2, and I have already run it through the machine, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I use the dots and spots dies, and for the placement you do want to put it near the top, and I kind of wanted to center it on here so that the holes were not right on the edge. And I also don't want to have it down farther, or again you might have holes halfway here. You might want to use the Take Your Pick tool, and you can remove this and replace it with the die brush attachment. This die brush attachment comes with a foam pad. I like to keep my foam pad in a stamp case, and you can kind of turn this over, and this helps to collect all the pieces that you've cut out. I don't usually keep these, but I'm thinking I might just put it inside the card as confetti when you open it. I have also used the Scallop Contours dies. I have taggers for the Scallop Contours dies to help me know which ones I used, and to also tell you, generally speaking, I start counting from the largest to the smallest. I used the number 3 die for the watercolor paper, and so that's this one. And I also used the number 4 tagger. I need 2 pieces of basic white cut out with the number 4. I'm going to start with the watercolor paper because it will get pretty wet, and I want to give it as much time to dry, and I want to put it on plastic that I can pick up and move. So I have a piece of window sheet here. I don't know if you can see it. Another wonderful thing you can use for this is the clear plates. This makes a great platform for it. And I also have a smaller piece of window sheet that I'm going to use for my palette. You could use paper plates or cutting board, whatever you have. So I'm going to pause the video for a minute, and I'm going to actually take this to the bathroom and get it soaking wet. So I'm going to move these things out of the way so they don't get soaking wet when I get back. And just a handy hint for the water painters that I'm going to use. It took me forever to figure out how to remove this. I asked my husband. I'm pretty mechanical, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. But it's because this has a reverse threading on it. Usually it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but this is righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. So that was a little confusing for me. And another thing that you can use for the plastic for your palette is a clear block. You can use the Stampin' Write markers as your palette. I found that I needed a little bit more ink than this, so I'm actually going to use the just a few dots from the ink refill. So let me make sure that there's plenty of water on here, because I've been talking a little bit. You actually want this to be soaked. You want to have water floating on top, not just wet. And you can pick up a little bit of water, a little bit of the paint, and get colors on here. You don't want to go from the Sweet Sorbet to the Parakeet Party, because red and green kind of make a brown color. And you want to have maybe a paper towel or a scrap paper around so you can kind of clean your brush a little bit and get some more ink. But I really want brighter inks for this. So I'm putting, that's probably too much. I put about 3 drops. So that's the Parakeet Party. This is the Tahitian Tide and the Sweet Sorbet. And again, that's plenty. So, and I want some bright colors here. So, some blue, Tahitian Tide. This is such a pretty blue. You can go right next to the green and the blue. And this is, do you see how it's moving around? It is a wash. This is a painter's technique. Clean off the brush and get some Sweet Sorbet. And the Sweet Sorbet and the Tahitian Tide will look lovely. And I think I'm going to leave it like that, maybe a little bit up here. And then we're going to let that dry. So I'm going to put it, that's one of the reasons why I have it on the plastic, so I can move this and let it dry. You might want to put it by a window, and you can also speed up the drying process with a heat tool, which I will probably do. Then on this piece, I'm going to do my stamping. When you are stamping with the watercolor technique, you want to use StazOn ink. The StazOn ink does have this plastic cover, and you can see I have a Stampin' Dimensional or two here, just so I don't lose that. That helps to seal this up, because this is an alcohol based, and it will dry out if you don't keep it sealed up tight. But we use this because it won't, once it dries, it stays there. And so with watercolor, we don't want this to bleed. You don't want to use this with the Stampin' Blends because they are both alcohol based. And so just like the watercolor paints bleed into each other, the Stampin' Blends will bleed in with the StazOn ink. And so we're going to use the same palette to color this. The Stampin' Blends come in a set of 3, so you get the large one that I was just using, a medium, and a small one. And it looks like I've got StazOn on my finger. I'm going to actually use the small one for painting here, but I do still want to use plenty of water. Actually, I think I want to start with the blue for the happy, the P for happy. And I'll use the Sweet Sorbet for the P's. And so I'm working from center out so I can get those. You can color these any color you want, really. And if you go out of the line, it's really okay. So if you use this with a dry watercolor paper, you can control it. It doesn't bleed all over the place. And if you don't want to take all the time to do that, you can actually do just a wash across here, and that's just fine too. This, I used the big brush and more water and just washed on the colors. So we also have a piece of white that I have cut just a little bit smaller than the blue. And I've also scored this diagonally. I have modified my Stampin' Trimmer, which I like very much. First of all, I marked with a fine tip Sharpie at 5 1/2, 5 1/4, 4 1/4, 2 3/4, 2 1/8. I have also marked a diagonal. So if you go from this corner and go every inch, I don't know if you can see those inch squares, and I actually put a little tiny dot on the inch squares and drew a diagonal line. And then I put a piece of packing tape so the edge of the tape is right barely on that fine mark. And that's kind of nice because you can kind of hear that I'm bumping up against that tape. Basically, I measured 1 3/4 from this corner to here and here, 1 3/4 here and here. But once I had that measurement, I could come to here, 1 3/4 here, and it's actually a little bit smaller than 1 3/4, and then I scored them. And then I could flip this over and do it that way here. So I was able to fairly quickly and easily score that diagonal. And now I'm going to crease those diagonals. I want to get a really good crease and go both ways. Okay, and then we're going to open this up and pop these so that they come in, and this is what does our pop-up section. And bring that back down and crease it here. Then I'm going to stamp the cat in here. I'm also going to use Stay Sun for the cat. And I want him close to the top here. And there's several greetings in here. I'm going to use It's the Best Day because it's your birthday. And I can just picture that cat saying that. And I'm just going to really quickly color some of the highlights on this cat. This is not watercolor paper. If you do a lot of scrubbing, kind of working back and forth and using a lot of water, it's not going to be it's not going to be the best quality of painting that you want. It will kind of rough up the paper, but if you're careful and don't scrub very much, it will be okay. So I'm not going into a lot of detail on this cat. That's okay with me. I'm going to go wash my brushes and my hands, and I'll be right back. I'm back. I have washed my hands and I have dried my watercolor paper, but we do have a little bit more stamping to do. There are some sparklers and some confetti, and I'm going to put some sparklers on these two pieces. And some confetti. You do want to be careful. I should have some scratch paper, and I should have some scratch paper under here because this is StazOn, and it stays on. Again, we're going to be adding some color. This is just basic white cardstock and not designed for watercolor. So I'm just going to use the markers and just kind of maybe highlight these a little bit. You can also use Wink of Stella. I think it looks great on anything that's sparkly. So we'll put some Wink of Stella on here. I mean, you can't go wrong with Wink of Stella, right? And I also wanted to stamp on just this strip of paper, just a scrap. I want to stamp just this birthday banner. Whoops, that's a terrible one. There, that's better. I want to, since StazOn ink does stay on, you want to use StazOn cleaner. Stampin' Up! Sells this special cleaner that helps clean that permanent ink off of here. You do want to use care when you're using that on photopolymer stamps. You definitely don't want to have that on for very long. And I like to use a wipe to get it off of the stamp. I don't like to get StazOn in my cleaners that I use for other stamps. So once I've used this, I will use the Stampin' Scrub and the Stampin' Mist on it. But the wipes kind of hold up to the scrubbing a little bit better. So I'm going to cut one of them, just the square part around, or the rectangle part around the birthday. And the other one I'm going to cut out the banner. I did leave a little tiny border on here. I want to put this on here. Isn't that pretty? I love that. I don't want to put glue where there's going to be holes. So I do want to put it in the kind of on the edge here. One of the things about watercolor is when it will kind of flatten out, but it's a little bit more wrinkly than just regular cardstock. So you want to use plenty of glue on it. And I plan to have a fairly small border here. And then I want to put this piece in. So I'm going to go put adhesive on the side with the cat stamped on it. And this should go right up to the, pretty close to that crease. And then you can put glue on this side while it's stuck on there. Oh, and I wanted to tie a bow first before I glue this down. So I've got a mess here. I'm going to tie a bow around here. And I'm using this beautiful Tahitian Tide metallic ribbon. So I guess what I can do is just put that in there and then tie my bow. But I should have tied my bow before I put the glue on there. I do want my bow all the way on the side here. And I probably want to make it straight across. One of the things about this ribbon is it does One of the things about this ribbon I found is it does want to untie itself. So I would suggest that you put a little tiny bit of glue in your knot. You can use a glue dot or you can use the liquid glue. Those do stay sticky though, and I don't really want it to be sticky, so I am using just a dot of the fine tip glue, and I'm just actually getting right in there. Then we'll put the stamped birthday with dimensionals right here. And I'm going to put birthday where this banner is. I'm putting this one because you might see that the watercolor paper is not as white as our basic white cardstock. And so this does stand out, and it is just a tiny bit taller. And then I'm going to put some of the mini dimensionals on here. I usually put the dimensionals and the adhesives on the thing on the smaller item. I usually put my adhesives on the smaller item, but since I know exactly where this banner is going, I can put it on the banner. So this will pop up. And there we go. And now we just need to put our little flashers out here. I'm going to put just a few inches of some of the Sweet Sorbet and the Pear Creek Party and the Tahitian Tide ribbon. And I just want to have a few inches. I just want a little, almost like a pom-pom, like so. And I want the knot to be in the middle. And I'm going to repeat that for the other side. I'm wanting to put the ends through these. This tag actually has slits. It has a big slit on the side, but I'm going to put the knot in the middle and put the ends through here. I like to use these Dental Floss threaders. They are very inexpensive. They're easy to lose though, but they're cheap, so this is good. So I'm going to put the needle threader through and pull it most of the way through. Then I'm going to put my ribbon in and pull those, help those through. The knot will keep them in. Repeat on the other side. And then these are kind of like pom-poms. And I'll do that on the other side too. So you probably need to separate these out, and even if you want to fray the ends, that's kind of it. I think it adds to it. And we want to put those just on this front triangle part here. You don't want to go all the way to the corners here, because your tag is not that wide. So when the card is opened up, they will open up quite a bit. And again, if you want to put this in here, that's fine. Now when you go to close your card, you kind of have to help one of them to go down first and then the other. And there's your card. Here is the web address for this project, where you'll find the free detailed directions and links for the products I used. Just click the links and you'll be taken to my online store at Stampin' Up! Click Home near the top of my page and you'll find lots of resources. Under Shop, you can find the products I offer to make crafting more convenient, how to get free products with my frequent shopper rewards, and a link to my online store at Stampin' Up! Click Inspiration to scroll all my projects back to 2011, most with detailed directions and videos. Though the products in those older projects have been retired, you may find techniques, layouts, or color combinations to inspire you today. If you're new to stamping, you might want to look at the basics. You'll find how to cut card bases and layers, what's special about Stampin' Up! Stamps, and some of my favorite tools. Under Organization, you'll find lots of free resources such as catalog tabs, labels and case inserts, color tools, and much more. You can take a tour of my craft wall. More organization means more time for stamping. You can learn about my Evernote notebook. I have a note for every current product that Stampin' Up! Has for sale right now. And you can sort them all by the type of product. You can search just for the stamps. You can search just for the designer series paper. You can search for the phrase that you want or an image that you would like to use. You can search all the products that come in a particular color. It really makes finding just exactly what you want very easy. And you can create your own notebook and search through all of the things that you own to find just what you need. Come stamp with me here in Ventura County, California, or get the best deal of all and join my team of crafters. The team is called SIP Together, and it stands for Stamps, Ink, and Paper Together. The team is made of crafters who want to save money on the products they buy, share with a few friends, or start a Stampin' Up! Business like mine. Be sure to subscribe to my website and on my YouTube channel. I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon.